an IT failure could reasonably be. I'm sorry.
You should. For those of you who don't see the video, just seeing her tongue fall out of her mouth as she's trying to say the word was funny.
Reasonably be.
It's like it just
that
like
had
nope.
Too many things.
You ever seen the goats?
Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right.
So Donna, let's talk about spending money.
Oh, yeah, that's everybody's favorite topic.
Well, when it comes to breaches, you can spend money, or you should spend money before the breach, and you will definitely spend money during and after a breach.
It's all about the left of boom spending versus the right of boom spending.
Yeah. Well, there's some spending that is you have a choice, and then there's other spending where you don't have a choice.
Yeah, there is that.
So you have some options about what you do before the breach. During and after the breach, sometimes you don't have options. You have to spend money whether you want to or not, on things whether you want to or not. But there are things that you can spend money on before the breach that reduce or limit or maybe even remove some of the costs during and after. So let's talk about that as it relates to the breach, the cost, how and what you do before a breach impacts the cost of a breach. And we're not just coming up with stuff off the top of our head. No. We are looking at a study. We studied the study, and we're going to talk about the results of that and what you can do to reduce things, to make things look good. Because I don't know about you, but when people ask me, how much does it cost if we had a data breach? How much would it cost? I'm like, well, it depends.
Yeah, it always depends.
That's
a fact-specific determination, David.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about. Like, what facts are specifically determining that? So let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a report we've reviewed a ton of times. That, this has come out every year since 2005.
Wow.
IBM, Poneman, cost of a data breach. We probably haven't had an opportunity to discuss every single issue or every single release of it, but we discuss many because I always have, from the beginning, seen it as one of my risk management tools.
Yeah, tells you where to put your focus and your dollars.
Where do I get the most bang for my buck on preventative, as well as how can I make sure I'm not doing the thing that will make it the most expensive one ever? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and if you're an MSP, this is great to look at to say, are we offering to our clients the things that give them the most bang for their buck and that will reduce breach costs?
See, we just keep finding new ways to use things, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
But so many people, I don't have time to look at these reports. These don't take a long time to read through. You can get through the high points they make them that way on purpose so that you can get the information.
They give you pretty pictures.
Yeah. I don't know. The colors this year kind of made it harder for me to read, but that's just me and my sad eyes. But I do like they always have different ways of displaying these things reduce the cost, these things increase the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that is not very helpful, the way it's put in a chart. It's just too hard to follow. But they've gone back to the way that it's really easy to follow. These are the negative numbers, and these are the positive numbers when we look at all the things that are involved as far as what's going to make things worse and what's going to make it better. And when you consider that they've done this now. This is the 21st report. They kind of know how to evaluate things and get the information out of people, because as always, it's the questions you ask. And
Yeah.
they did 3,558 interviews across 602 organizations, covering breaches from March 2025 to February 2026. And the size went everywhere from 2,590 records to 115,380 records. So we're not looking at those multi-million record breaches.
Right.
That's great. So, and healthcare is about 12 of the 602 organizations, roughly, were healthcare specific. So you're getting a pretty good number. And, and of course, they're like, yeah, it's not a benchmark. Don't be acting like you have to meet these requirements. But it's best to use for making decisions.
Yeah.
That's what I find it very, very helpful always to reference this report when I'm doing decision making. And that means it's one that's a great one to use when you're proposing spending money, right? So we're going to go through some of those numbers, but don't worry. AI is going to be there. We'll get you to it.
Of course,
especially when you see a quote like this. When I was reading it, and I'm like, how much is this AI? AI-driven attacks increased 56% over last year's study, year over year. 56%, and those attacks added an average of $1 million per breach, as the tools made the attackers increase their velocity and scale. And that speed, which is what we've talked about all along, is happening faster. The speed, I love this quote, this paragraph. That speed is reshaping breach economics, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
You can tell these are not the same people as the Verizon ones. These are the more formal IBM, still wear a blue suit every day.
Yeah. Well, this specifically speaks to what we've said here recently, which is the speed of the attacks, the speed of the bad guys and what they have to work with is far faster than the speed at which people are adopting good cyber hygiene or today's cybersecurity tools. There are many people that are still using the same thing they were using 3 to 5 years ago.
And that's unfortunately a lot of the small and medium business market, which is
I mean, there's a lot of IT companies that are still offering the same thing they did 3 to 5 years ago, and that's one of the things we also discuss. Like, these are things you need to be on the cusp of to figure out what you need to do. I mean, we're constantly reviewing risk and vendors, and I don't like it. I have to admit, I don't like having to keep doing that. I want things to be steady and slow and boring. But that is not the industry we are living in today.
And I don't think that'll ever change at this point. We've crossed a barrier where that is going to be constant. We've always said change is constant in what we do, but what's the principle that we use to live by? The Moore's principle, is it that computing power would double every so many years? And so, and then finally we reached the point where it had doubled itself out of, like, it more than doubles now. We've gone past that threshold, and I think it's going to continue. And some of the topics in here, like, post-quantum computing and AI are the reason. All right, so let's talk big numbers, not little numbers, big numbers. Overall, and these are averages, global average breach costs $4.99 million. Why not just say 5?
Because it's more believable. Because if you said 5, I'd be like, really? Like, on the die is 5. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be all over that, wouldn't you? But that's a 12% increase year over year.
yeah.
And average in the US alone, 11.5 million. Now, keep in mind, this report looks at full cost. They look at everything. So you got the detection, the escalation, the lost business. Guess what? Those are the things that drove most of the cost. Actually seeing it, escalating it, that immediate crisis moment, and the lost business, not necessarily with people walking away from your business, but you not being able to manage your business because you're busy dealing with this.
Yeah. So us lucky folks in the US, we have over twice as much cost as the global average.
Mm-hmm. We're pulling that number up.
Yeah.
Our 11.5 should have been 11.6, so the other could be 5 million. No, I'm just saying.
It will be. No, it's next year. Don't worry about it.
But I mean, we already hit on it, that this is not about fixing technology necessarily, even though people aren't dealing with latest technology. We're still seeing that the big cost is the disruption to your business, having to do the investigation, and you do lose business, depending on your environment. And healthcare is a little different. It's not like in healthcare, you show up at the hospital to buy something and they're closed. So they had a data breach. So I'm going to go buy it somewhere else. Often that's the only place you're going to buy it. Right. But especially in the small and rural areas, you don't have a choice. So we don't see that lost business as obvious. And then, of course, the recovery costs we know are huge. And when you get down into the numbers of what people told about the recovery, it's pretty, this is on point with what we've seen in the past. And then, of course, the legal and regulatory stuff. But that's the thing everybody worries about. But all the other things is something you can do something about.
Mm-hmm.
That one you can't do a lot about. But again, we're number one, David.
I figured as much.
13 straight years, people. Talking about 13 years of dominating. The top of the highest average breach cost is healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. But it did go down a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It like 10%. But down is all relative when you're talking, in 2025, it was 7.42 million. And in 2026, it's 6.64.
Well,
I'm still in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it says a lot when you can drop down by 10.5% and still be number one.
Yeah, you're right. It does. And the fact that you dropped and the overall average across the board is up 12%. So anyway, it says a lot. Still the highest of all the 17 different industries they evaluated. I know. And again, we're looking at malicious attacks, 59% of the reasons in healthcare, 21% human error, and 20% IT failure, David.
Which I argue is still human failure.
I don't think you're wrong there. But one of the things that it doesn't seem to, and I've looked at it, I can't find it, but for a while, healthcare was number one in insider breaches. But it may have been the Verizon report where that kept popping up and not this one. Because they don't break out the insider threat versus the malicious. So we don't know that this report ever did. But we know that the malicious criminal attacks, the human error, and IT failure could reasonably be I'm sorry.
You should. For those of you who don't see the video, just seeing her tongue fall out of her mouth as she's trying to say the word was funny.
Reasonably be.
It's like it just
That
like
had
nope.
too many things.
You ever seen the goats?
Okay, we detoured enough on that crazy thing. All right. I got to quit trying to put words together that I'll just slam into one giant word like I'm speaking German or something. And but moving on. So the IT failure thing, and we're right, all of that could be insider involved. And sometimes we even have the case where people don't realize that, like, if a business associate is the source of a data breach, that's still an insider.
Yeah.
So we have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you outsource your insiders.
Oh man, that brings a whole new world into play, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So the time it takes to identify and contain, so that the attack starts and it's recognized we're under attack and a data breach is actually happening. Your data has been, and now we're going to finally get it contained, 247 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is for years that had been going down. And the reason that's important that it be less than 200 days is under 200 days to get it all under control is substantially less expensive than over 200 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one might say, if I'm still working on it, it's still going to be more expensive. So, but that is a good line in the sand. But even when you go look at who found it, and what time did it take for them to find it? Good news, internal IT and security, 209 days. They're pretty close to where you want. At least the lower end.
Yeah.
Managed security provider, 230 days.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that would sort of make sense, because if you're outsourcing to an MSP or an MSSP, even though they got great tools, they also have multiple clients. So it would make sense that if you have an internal team and you can afford to have that good internal team, they're only looking at one client. They should hopefully find things faster because they're able to do more and dig deeper. But
yeah. And it's not just like as simple as people think. Well, and I've literally had people say, well, I hired the security people, I hired the IT people, and so I don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah, you always have to worry about it.
Anyway, but the sad number here are the next two are the saddest numbers. The attackers disclose it at 268 days.
Ooh.
And a third party finds it at 281 days. So you're hoping that you find it and get it taken care of 268 days? And that's because the attackers finally told you.
Yeah.
They did whatever. So anyway, it's when we're looking at the message that small and medium businesses can really get from this is, but I'm not saying go out and bring in your own big IT department, have your own SOC.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But you've got to be aware and not just say, well, I paid somebody to do this. Who's watching? Who's going to get notified when something happens? Who's actually responding? How fast can they actually take action?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we don't work on weekends. All right. Well, guess when most of the attacks are? And it's all those kind of things. So when I'm contracting with an MSP, like say, I don't know, Security First IT,
I heard
at
that good.
securityfirstit.com, you can find out. What does that look like as a small business if I'm contracting with somebody that's an MSP like you are to handle the IT and taking it seriously, not saying I want to spend as little money as possible. I want to spend a reasonable amount of money to, it's where I get the security I need and that you're doing the monitoring and you're making sure. And then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do it the right way. So don't even do the people that aren't.
Right.
All right. What does that really look like when we say who's watching, notifications to respond? How fast does it take place?
Yeah. I mean, it can vary, but you want to ask that question for sure, because is it just the MSP's internal team? And if so, how are they doing it? Like, are they supposed to watch these tools while they're also answering phone calls and tickets and all this kind of stuff? Are they outsourcing portions of that, which is very common and probably a good idea, honestly, because if you've got a specific tool, a security tool, and the vendor itself is monitoring that for the MSP, and then the MSP is also monitoring, then you got multiple layers of human eyes on something. And that's the way I like to do it. I like to have layers of protection. I like to have layers of automation or AI and layers of eyeballs on it, so that even if we're not working at 3:00 in the morning, somebody is. Even if we're not working weekends, somebody is. So there's a lot less likelihood that something bad is going to happen and it get missed, because there's just so many things in place that can catch it. Now, obviously, there's a cost to that. Now, it's not astronomical, but when sometimes MSPs are trying to get their costs down or appeal to a certain price range audience, then you can't have those things. And I understand that. And so those are questions you need to ask. If it's always funny when I give somebody a quote and they're like, well, your quote's twice as much as the other one. And I'm like, well, you should be asking them why. Don't ask me why mine's twice as much. You should ask them, why is there half the price? Because I'm giving you what you need at a reasonable rate. So what are they doing? There's no way. They're definitely not giving you what you need, and they're not giving you a half price rate. So it's apples and oranges. We're not even talking about the same things here. So yeah, all those questions should be really asked, and stay on top of that. You have to participate as a business owner or a compliance officer or privacy security officer. You have to participate in cybersecurity. You can't outsource it all.
And you can ask who's watching, who's going to get notified, who responds, and how fast can they act without any technical knowledge.
Yeah. One thing that I think is interesting, and not a lot of people do this, is in a lot of cases, we like to include the client in notifications. Now, not everyone notification, but high level critical notifications, because then it not only keeps us accountable, but it also lets the client know when something's going on. I think that's a good idea. Not all companies do that, but I think it's a great way to make sure, look, we have to be on top of this, because the client's going to get notified the same time we get notified with critical things. And of course, they're going to be on the phone quickly, hopefully. Now, we're not going to have a ton of information immediately, but I like for them to know what's going on, instead of going, oh gosh, we just had this critical incident. Don't tell the client anything right now. Let's wait 30 days before we say something. No, I don't want to do that. I think that's crazy.
I agree. I mean, it's I need to make decisions about my company. I have to have the information.
Yeah. It's no different than if you're notifying patients of a data breach, well after the cutoff date. Like, you should notify them as soon as possible so they can take necessary actions.
Yeah. And it's interesting, speaking of things that we've seen and that whole notification process. There's some folks that they see it on a report, and that's the only time they see it, right? It just shows up on a report. There's some folks that don't even get reports. And if you're in healthcare and if you're under any requirement or you're choosing to follow standards and be able to prove that you're doing the work and it's a formal program, not just, hey, I got a guy, then, I mean, in doing that, you should be getting regular reports explaining what's being covered, what's actually happening. And, you really shouldn't have to talk to the people if they're doing their job. We've talked about that repeatedly. Although if they send you an email about something, you should respond in less than a year. And
yeah, we've had one of those.
Yeah. David actually got a reply from somebody from an email that was a year old. And number one, how did they still have that email?
Still having the email I can get, how it surfaced a year later, I don't know.
Yeah, have it in front of them to reply. That's the thing.
I did think, because I haven't spoken with the client, but yeah, my initial thing, of course, this wasn't something that was critical. Like we were like, well, if we don't hear anything from them, we'll just let them get breached. It wasn't like that, but it was still something where I was like, how in the world did this come back, a year later for you to respond to? I don't know.
Yeah, you got a question.
Maybe they snoozed it and they changed the date wrong. Instead of coming back like next week or next month, it came back the next year. I don't know.
It's possible. Anything's possible. The curiosity would kill me. I'd have to know. But anyway, you have to get the information and respond to it just like you would any other. You got a breach of your bank account and somebody's taking money. It's not a lot different as far as the overall impact to your business. If they're taking all of your information and destroying your network, destroying your data, in the end, it will be painful. It's just not the same pain at the same rate. When you look at the recovery, like we get this, we find out about it, we get it contained. Of the thousands of people they talk to and 600 different organizations, 42%. So this goes back to March 2025 to February 2026. That time they covered and they talked to them, only 42% have fully recovered.
So not 42% ever fully recover. Is 42% fully recover within that time frame?
Right. So if they had the data breach in February and you were interviewing them near that time, I could see that. And maybe 42% of them happened later, but it's more spread out than that, number one. But the second stat is only 4%. 4% reported that they recovered completely in less than 50 days.
What? You mean it's not 24 hours?
Well, and now, again, this is looking at more than just the technical piece. It's looking at the total impact. And when they're saying fully recovered, they mean your operations are back to normal. Any compliance obligations are completed. You've done the notifications. You got some customer confidence restored. That's all leveled out. Your employees are restored. Trust is restored. And the controls and expertise added, that needed to be added are done to reduce this from happening again. So they're looking at all of those things.
The last one there is super important. Having something in place to reduce the reoccurrence, because it will happen again. It will absolutely happen again.
If you don't do something different.
It's always funny when you see people saying, that we put additional security controls in place, and I always want to know, well, what did you have before? Does additional mean that you just added something, or that you didn't have anything at all and you're just starting? So I don't know, but yeah, it does make you question, why didn't you have it to begin with? But who knows?
Yeah, but bottom line is the service backup is not recovery.
Right.
That, we have internet again. That's not full recovery. We have email, not full recovery. If you're doing any part of your business using your business continuity plan that we know you have,
you absolutely do.
and now you're showing this, and if you're in healthcare, if you provide care or any, like even customer service, like you guys, you're providing customer service. And if you have a problem, it impacts your clients. Just like in healthcare, it impacts the patients. The only difference is patient care impacts are huge. And just the thought of going hundreds of days with patient care being impacted is, it's not a place any of us want to be. And, I've seen people where they've had, an arson attack, and they had to struggle for 6 months with location issues as they were able to repair their space. These things go on for a long time, and that's the big thing people need to plan for. So let's look at where you spend the money. Let's spend smarter before the breach.
All right. And let's talk about spending money.
Now, I will tell you that this report uses some level of more technical language, more IBM's involved. Shall we just leave it there? I spent my youth in IBM Business Partners businesses, several different ones. So I can tell you, I understand IBM fairly well. And yes, it has changed, but I don't think it's changed that much. Anyway, DevSecOps is like the number one cost reducer. And so I'm trying to figure just the best way to look at it is that whatever you're doing, you're building security into it as you go. Security by design. That's what we call it, security by design, but DevSecOps sounds way more cool. No. So,
it sounds like you can't fully pronounce a word, so you just take the first 3 letters of each one. Imagine if we spoke that way.
Yeah. And then it's like identity access management, which there is, where smaller companies have always thought about it's a user profile, and I have a user profile, and I have this, and I have now at a higher level, which we're nowhere near the small companies really getting fully engaged in identity access management. One big reason is they don't have such a breadth of people to keep up with and applications to manage.
Right.
So identity access management is really about access controls. So it's about your user profiles and all of that. But in the bigger world where IT is the higher end, we'll call it. I don't know any other way to put it. But it means you get assigned an identity, and then profiles are connected to that identity so they can be added and removed, and you don't change. And that is taking it beyond single sign-on, which we've talked about. And we're in a whole new concept of controlling access. Any better way to put that?
No, that's pretty good. It's it's fairly complicated to talk about, but yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, determining who has access to what and make sure you can identify that person is who they say they are.
Yeah. So it's stuff that's built into HIPAA security rule. It goes back that far. It was a long time in basic security, cyber hygiene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they get into key lifecycle management. That's all about encryption. I mean,
Yep.
we're just talking about encryption there. If it's always up on there. If you are managing your encryption, and they're talking about lifecycle management, meaning you don't leave the secrets the same forever. And that used to be, you could do that. You could just, you could do a VPN connection between offices, and you just set a big long key. You never had to worry about it again. Can't do that anymore. Really need to change them periodically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other things. Offensive security testing. Penetration testing, red teaming as they call it, where you actually have people actively attack you. Well, most small businesses, number one, ain't none of them going to want the effort and the money and the terror that would bring to a small business. After we did just the social engineering attack on our companies, the people were not happy.
Yeah.
And we'll just leave it at that. But if you're not ever testing in some way, looking for the weaknesses, I'm always looking for, let me do this quick scan. Just like every now and then it just occurs and you just run. Let me see if I can probe our IP address here and our IP address there. But you got to be doing some of it. And if you don't know that that's ever been done, then it should be discussed with your IT provider or whoever's handling it. Because at least some minimal penetration testing, looking for vulnerabilities and easy ways in to your systems should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And a tabletop exercise can sometimes identify weaknesses as well. Wait, nobody thought of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Let's see. And then SOAR, which I'm like, I don't even want to try to explain. We got to have an acronym though. And I love, what is this one? It's just
orchestration.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell them what the acronym is.
So SOAR, Security Orchestration and Automation Response, or Automated Response. Depends on which way you want to go with it.
Yeah, Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response Tools is how they reference it in the report. But basically, it's like automation takes over. I don't see SOAR getting into the small and medium market a lot anytime soon. Or are you seeing movement this differently?
We're starting to see the tools coming down to the smaller price points, and in some cases, the ability to do these things are kind of splitting off some. So they're not calling it SOAR, but they're still able to take playbooks and put them against, when X happens, do Y. And so it is SOAR, but they're not necessarily calling it a SOAR platform. So, I mean, we have that now, even with email security and things like that. Like, there are lots of things that are automated responses and automated workflows that look at either what's called a playbook or a workflow or a framework. They're just not called SOAR.
Mm-hmm.
But a dedicated SOAR platform is expensive currently.
And the other things that really come into play, employee training, it is always on the list. Always.
Yeah. And this is the easiest one to do. This is what drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It's the easiest one to understand. I know. It's easiest to understand, easiest to do, and it's the one that can be free of all of them. This one can actually not cost you anything.
Yes. And then you have EDR, MSSP. I think I missed one. Secret Lifestyle Management Tools I missed. But the bottom line here, I'm just realizing we're going way off down in our rabbit holes. But the bottom line is you build security into your changes every day. It's secure by design. We've talked about that forever. Control access properly. We talked about that. Encrypt your data properly, but quantum makes that scary. Do testing. Automate when you can, because we're getting new ways to automate that we never had before. Train your people, monitor your endpoints, and use qualified outside help. Just because you understand IT does not mean you understand security, and that is more important now than ever. So, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you just need to scale the things to you, but the things aren't really changing a lot. So the things that make it more expensive is if it's in the supply chain, if your security system is so complex, you can't figure out where things happened and you can't get to things to follow it for forensics. If you make it more complicated than it needs to be without layers, David talks about layers, but your layers work together.
Yeah. Well, this used to be the way IT worked. I don't know that people still do it this way, but people would say we need to make the environment so complex they can't do it without us. And I was like, so you mean to tell me instead of doing a fantastic job, you want to try to make sure that they can't replace you? Like you're basically holding them hostage. You're just doing it a different way. To me, it makes no sense. No, like take everything towards simplicity. It makes everything easier to defend. It makes it easier to investigate. Go for simplicity.
Well, and I would say that going back to having the qualified people, you have to be really good at what you do to make it simple.
Yeah. Like, what is that saying? Like, if you really understand something, then you can break it down in a way somebody can understand it.
Yeah.
If you can't, then you don't really know it that well.
Yeah. I always like the, well, let me change the subject to something some other buzzwords I know. But so the complexity is huge problem. Lack of visibility, your shadow IT, your shadow AI, huge problem. Regulatory non-compliance, I'm not doing it. HIPAA, schmippa, whatever you want to call it. Not managing those keys and encryption. And, sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, we encrypt everything. Who manages the keys? Crickets. Nothing. We don't know. No one knows who's managing them. If you don't know who's managing them, then how do you know they're being secured? Right?
Yeah.
Inability to get that, I've had before where a same error alert was coming out for months telling people to do something and they just blew past it. That means you can't prioritize alerts. And those alerts were just about a problem happening in one of the programs getting its responses incomplete. And this would be, you're getting an alert, you're under attack, and people just don't even look at it because they only look at that once a month. A big thing, security skills shortage is on that list of what makes it more because you just don't have those qualified people. And that's why we have one of our task groups at HSCC is actually for workforce growth. How do we improve the workforce, bring more people into security, specifically into healthcare security? And then my final one is one of your favorites, David.
Yeah. Let's just give everybody access to everything.
Yeah.
This is still a problem. I mean, I've had this conversation within the past 2 weeks. So, I just, it's a bane.
Yes, it is. And it's your favorite thing. And we just want to make it easy. Security is not convenient. Donna's rule number 1. Security is not optional. Rule number 2. Rule number 3 is you got to figure out how to balance it. So, people, if this is one of the ways that it makes it more expensive, it's in the top list.
Yeah,
that tells you something.
And just the let people know the reason why is because when an account gets compromised, if they have more access and privilege than they're supposed to have, then you just gave them keys to everything. This is why in IT, we want to limit the number of admins and admin accounts, preferably to 1 or 0. In some cases, you can even not have any. You can have just in time admins. But yeah, when somebody's like, I need admin access to this, and then so-and-so needs admin, and then another person needs admin. We get a new client and we're looking at it like, why is there 12 admin accounts? Like there should be 1 at a maximum of 1. And there's a dozen. I'm like, oh my gosh. You see this in like websites all the time. They give a dozen different people admin access to the back end of the website. They do the same thing on their network.
Yeah. If you're doing that, you better be able to explain why.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way I look at it. Because you and I both have back end access to our websites that we work on together because we work on it together.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to. So anyway, moving on. But the bottom line that is the same thing we say over and over. Just because you outsource the work, you're not outsourcing the accountability. It's still your responsibility. So I'm not saying I am saying. And really, encryption's annoying that we're still talking about that when they said 53% said they did not encrypt sensitive data at rest and in motion.
Wow.
Did not. And then you add 10% who were unsure.
Huh. Well, then let's just say no.
Right? We might do that.
I think you would know.
Yeah, so you should know about encryption, right? And they were interviewing the leaders. They weren't interviewing just the, entry-level person at the front desk. So your encryption, but just because you encrypt doesn't mean that everything's okay. And that's the thing that drives me crazy is we encrypt our email, but then it's like you don't even get it that when people give up their email credentials, it is unencrypted email. Unless you're doing another level and putting in another place. So that's why I prefer, data sharing areas and those kind of things. But if you don't know about encryption, but now let's bring it back around on the encryption thing. Because it's good right now. It's good right now. But all I can think about when we talk about quantum computing, and we're starting to talk about the encryption with the quantum computing concerns, the thing is those computers can break encryption that we use today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So, if we're not doing it now, it makes no sense. But we have to also keep in mind that if there's a data breach and it's encrypted today, it falls mostly under safe harbor rules. Well, if you can prove it's encrypted, we're going to let it go. But what happens when they start getting access to these quantum computers? And we're not looking like it's not going to be tomorrow, but it's also not in, 100 years or even 50 years. We're talking within the next 10 or fewer. What's going to happen to all that encrypted data then and those data breaches that didn't get reported because it was encrypted? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be retired is what my plan is. Because here's the thing is AI is going to change the speed of all of this.
Yeah. And quantum's going to change the speed of AI.
Yeah. So you wanted your computer to work faster. Remember all the time you complained about how slow your computer is. This is why. This is why things are getting faster. AI is still the thing. It is more than 1 in 4 of those malicious attacks had AI involved.
Wow.
Yeah. And deep fakes and impersonation are how they're using AI the most right now. But I think that will slowly change. Well, I don't know. The thing is, they will be able to use vulnerabilities that AI discovers for a while. And we used to be able to do that. But as we've gotten better at patching and security by design, that hasn't been as prolific. But now they turn to social engineering and deepfake and impersonations. Social engineering on steroids. But then here's our other favorite one. Well, actually, there's several here. 92% of organizations with an AI-related breach lacked AI access controls.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's the wild, wild west of this stuff. And they're just like handing it out like candy.
Yeah.
Without any concern.
Shadow AI incidents increased to 43%.
Yeah.
43%.
Because
It increased 43%.
You can do it from home. Like if I can sign up for ChatGPT, then what's stopping me from going to work and logging into my ChatGPT account?
Yeah. And then I'm putting all kinds of information in it because no one's training. No one's teaching. There's no governance. There's no controls. And it just becomes easier to fool people or, get them into hey, test this free AI. It'll do your job. Yeah. You just don't tell your boss it's doing your job. Look, wink, wink. And the bottom line is still the same. You've got to have training. You've got to have rules. You've got to monitor and access controls. Those are not different. Those are the same things we've always needed. But the good news is AI can be used for defensive stuff. It does save some money. It's showing it saves about $2 million in the breach cost if AI was being involved in the defense and recovery. So, it's a big thing to understand if you're outsourcing IT, what AI is being used and how is that being controlled. And then you need to also make sure you're controlling it in your environment. And if you think you're not using AI, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. You're using it somewhere you just don't even know.
Yeah.
So, and it's like everything else. I've always said I don't believe in technology for technology's sake in a business. Now, if we're talking about something that I think is cool and I just want to play with, different story. But in a business, it should be a strategic decision. It helps us in some way. And that's the big picture that we all have to really focus on. And the bottom line, still the same. The things you need to do haven't changed. And this report helps you see the areas where you can get the most bang for your buck. Like, let me make sure that the supply chain coming from a business partner compromise is the number one way to make it more expensive. So maybe I should manage them a little better. The complexity, that's number 2. That I'm not paying attention to AI, that's number 3. So you can see those are not technology pieces.
Right.
So it's in how you deal with managing these things. And, we always have to remember in healthcare, we may see it as numbers on the screen, rows on the spreadsheet, but it's people.
Yep.
It's people. So that brings us to our closing line.
All right, folks. We went through this report pretty quick. So go check it out for yourself. There's a lot of great information in there and a lot more you can dive into. But we have to cut it right now. So join us again next week. Until then, for Donna and myself, remember, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.